Most people overpay for products like this. Here's why this one is different. I've spent a lot of time testing monitors, and it always feels like you're either buying something that looks slick but can't keep up, or you're shelling out a ton for a screen that never really delivers on the hype. The Samsung Odyssey G9, though, manages to strike a balance that works for both the hardcore gamer and the creator who just wants a lot of space on the screen. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the basics. The Odyssey G9 is a 49-inch panel that basically gives you two 27-inch monitors side by side without the bezels getting in the way. The resolution sits at 5120 by 1440 pixels, which means you're getting that 5K QHD clarity that really makes text sharp and textures pop. In practice, that extra pixel real estate lets you keep your chat window, streaming dashboard, and the game itself all visible at once without having to Alt-Tab every few minutes. I've used it while doing live streams, and the difference is night and day. No more frantic window juggling, just a smooth flow that keeps the audience engaged. One of the biggest practical wins is the 144 Hz refresh rate paired with a 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response time. For anyone who plays fast-paced shooters or competitive titles, that combination translates into buttery smooth motion and minimal ghosting. I've run a few 120 frames per second matches of Valorant on this screen and the motion feels so clean you can actually see the details in the periphery that most monitors would blur away. The same benefit shows up when you're scrolling through long spreadsheets or video timelines. The motion is fluid enough that you don't feel any lag between your mouse and what's on the screen. The curvature is another design choice that isn't just for looks. Samsung went with a 1000R curve, which is basically the same radius as the human eye, so the whole display wraps around you just enough to reduce eye strain. When you're gaming for a few hours straight, or when you're editing a video and need to keep your head in a stable position, that gentle curve helps you stay comfortable. I've noticed that my neck doesn't complain as much after a marathon editing session compared to a flat panel of similar size. Color accuracy and HDR are also worth highlighting. The panel supports HDR 600, delivering brighter highlights and deeper blacks than a typical SDR monitor. When I watched a movie with high dynamic range content, the bright scenes felt punchier without washing out, and the dark areas retained detail. For creators, that means you can get a fairly accurate preview of how your color grading will look on a HDR display without needing a dedicated reference monitor. It's not a professional-grade color-graded monitor, but for most gamers and hobbyist editors, it hits a sweet spot between price and performance. Connectivity isn't an afterthought either. The G9 comes with two HDMI 2.0 ports and a DisplayPort 1.4, plus a USB-C input that can handle video, data, and even power delivery. I've hooked my laptop up with a single USB-C cable and instantly got 144 Hz at the full resolution, which makes desk clutter a thing of the past. The built-in speaker system is decent for a monitor of this size, but I still prefer plugging in headphones for truly immersive gaming. There's also a handy picture-in-picture mode, so you can display two separate inputs at once, great for keeping a Discord chat or a streaming overlay on the side while you game. Now, every piece of tech has its ups and downs, so let's be honest about what works and where you might feel a pinch. The biggest upside is the massive, ultra-wide real estate that lets you multitask without sacrificing immersion. It feels like you're inside the game world while still having room for tools and communication. The smooth 144 Hz performance combined with the low response time makes fast action feel natural, and the curvature does a solid job of keeping fatigue at bay during long sessions. On the flip side, you're looking at a fairly steep price tag. It's not the cheapest way to get extra screen space, and the investment might feel heavy if you're on a tighter budget. Also, the sheer size means you need a decent amount of desk space, and the stand, while sturdy, does take up a chunk of that area, so you'll need to plan your setup accordingly. All in all, the Samsung Odyssey G9 feels like a monitor that finally respects both the gaming and productivity sides of a PC. If you've been frustrated by cramped dual-monitor setups or by laggy screens that can't keep up with modern titles, this might be the middle ground you've been waiting for. Thanks for hanging out. And if you think the Odyssey G9 could fit into your setup, remember the link is below if you want to grab one.